At the CD8 debate, and we're asking our four Republican candidates for the primary of CD8, State Senator Frank Antonori, Mr. Jesse Kelly, Colonel Martha McSally, Mr. Dave Sitton. And our next question is going to be coming to you from Chris Lindbergh. Welcome, Chris.
This question is for Dave. Dave, how would you represent a district as diverse as CD8? How do you meet the needs of the ranching, farming, and urban communities? For example, in the areas of water rights and transportation.
I spent the day today in Douglas and out toward the border. Most of us have had an opportunity to visit there several times, but until you start visiting with these people who live there and understand how acute the border problem is for them, where it's not an immigration issue, it's a security issue for our ranchers, for our community, as well as our nation. I traveled quite a bit over my 38 years in this community. I've been involved, as I mentioned, anything from fine arts to the military and everything in between. The reason I feel confident that I can, because I know so many people and have worked with so many people that are involved in a variety of issues in this community, ranging from transportation. And I don't think anybody in this town who drives from one side to the other would agree that we have quite mastered the transportation issues in this community. But to your point, that's an understatement, I guess. But the point being that I think, again, going and leaning on the fact that I have made these very important relationships stick for coming close to 4 decades here and have served on so many community issues. And right now, another one, for instance, Pima County Sports and Tourism Authority, which is having very important issues, promoting some very important issues, not only for professional athletics, but amateur and youth athletics, and all of the issues that go along with that. For instance, in Southern California, where there's better parks and recreation, crime rate against adolescents are down. These are things that I've known, worked in, and will bring to Washington, D.C. in representing this particular district.
Thank you.
I feel like I have a bit of a distinct advantage because my legislative district is pretty much exactly as you described. I represent 3 counties. I represent the rural parts of Pima, Santa Cruz, and Cochise counties, as well as the urban parts of Tucson and Vail. And we've got a diverse constituency out there. I mean, I've got ranchers, I've got a large retirement community in Green Valley, I have sort of a middle-class suburban sort of group out there in Vail and Corona de Tucson, as well as people in the urban portions of Tucson. And I have worked hard to support the ranchers, as well as our veterans and a bunch of other constituencies. And it demonstrated when I got reelected for by over 60% of the vote in my district. So I guess they're pretty happy with the job I've been doing, because they sent me back there with an overwhelming margin.
Well, there are 2 things that are, well, there are more than 2 things, but 2 major things that are a universal language for everyone, anywhere, that be a rancher or that be an urban area, and that's jobs and gas prices. And we need both badly in this country. We get emails all the time, talk to people all the time on the campaign trail. Just had a gentleman, a rancher down in Cochise County, who's literally not feeding himself because he can't afford the gas to get to town and back right now. He's choosing to feed his livestock to keep himself there instead. 14% unemployment. That's the real unemployment number we have in this nation and in this district. We need to invite businesses to this district, lower tax rates, get the government out of the way with regulation. And the great news is, not only are we a wealthy, prosperous nation, we haven't even touched a fraction of what we are able to do in this country with entrepreneurs and with energy. The money is right there, we just have to take it.
I'm applying for a job to represent all the people of CD8. And in that spirit, we got to make sure that I will make sure I'm a servant leader, as I've been my whole life since I served since 18 years old in the military in uniform. And in that case, we need to be representing the diverse interests of the district, to include the ranchers, to include the military, to include the veterans, the retirees, all that have been mentioned here. We need to be able to multitask in Washington, D.C. And as a woman, I'm going to be good at that, right? Because we're naturally able to multitask. But the key is, I think, the attitude and having a spirit of serving this district as a representative and not the other way around, of understanding what those concerns are, visiting with the ranchers and others like I'm doing, and making sure that you're not divisive, you're not inflammatory, and you're actually pragmatic in finding solutions in Washington, D.C. in order to get things done that are going to address these key issues of the economy, the debt, the border, healthcare, and all the other things that are facing us right now.
A very important day today, the opening arguments for the Supreme Court on the Obamacare, as it's called. And the next question is from Donna, and it's going to go to Frank Antonori.
Hi, Frank. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act has proven to be very expensive and intrusive. What is your plan to give the American people more choices in their health care coverage?
This is a softball. Thanks for that pitch. Number one is, hopefully the first thing we do when we get up there is vote to repeal and get rid of Obamacare. And then follow up with that. What we've been battling the federal government here in Arizona. One of the things we did last year was we referred to the ballot Prop 106, which was the Healthcare Freedom Act here in Arizona, so the people of this state can opt out of Obamacare because we're a free state and we don't need the federal government sticking its nose in our healthcare business and telling us we have to buy certain kinds of healthcare. We've been fighting that battle. The way you do this is you open up healthcare like you have other types of insurance and you create competition. There is no reason we can't shop across state lines. There's no reason we can't use an a la carte system to get the kind of coverage we need. Younger people need a different kind of coverage from older people. Men need a different kind of coverage from women. Families need a different kind of coverage than single people. There's no reason we have to have this cookie-cutter, one-size-fits-all system. It's called freedom. You don't have that when you go buy your car insurance. You can pick your deductible, how much coverage you want. It should be the same thing for your health care. You got to get the government out of the healthcare business. You got to put consumer choice back into the market, and you got to make people responsible for their own health care and not reliable on the government. Because when you're reliable on the government, they control your life, and in the case of Obamacare, they will control your death. So you have to get rid of it.
Well, on top of repeal Obamacare, and we must do that, whatever your beliefs are, go home tonight and say a prayer to whoever you pray to that the Supreme Court shoots that down. And then if they don't, we'll have to repeal it into Congress. But we can do tort reform. We can allow businesses to pool together, which they are currently not allowed to do in order to purchase health insurance. Meaning if 5 businesses pool together to purchase insurance instead of 1 business, then the cost goes down. It's no different than buying any other product. The more you buy, the better the cost. Also, we can give individuals the same tax breaks that businesses enjoy for providing themselves with health care. Not only does it help with health care, not only can you buy and tailor-make a plan for whatever you want, but it also gives you the freedom to leave your job, to move jobs, to jump careers because you're not bound to your employer because you need that health insurance. Individual ownership of health insurance, less government. There are a million different solutions we can't fit into a minute and a half, but the overall point is get less government, more choice of the individual, and that's what will solve our problems.
Obamacare needs to be repealed, obviously. It did not even begin to address the root cause of how much we're paying for health care. We need health care to be affordable and available so people can choose and be able to afford it. So bringing down that cost, we pay the highest per capita for health care in the world. Yet of developed countries, we have the 27th, we're number 27 in life expectancy. So we're not getting our bang for the buck. So we do need to get back to the doctor-patient relationship, the tort reform and putting caps on malpractice, which is causing doctors to do unnecessary procedures. We also need to get out of the fee-for-service culture because they just continue to do services and diagnosis as opposed to actually making you healthy and focusing on prevention. And all those things will bring the cost down so it's more available to people. As soon as the government gets involved, it's only going to mess it up and it's going to be more expensive. Buying insurance across state lines is another way to do that. So let the individual and the free market be bringing that cost down, focusing on prevention and back to the doctor-patient relationship.
The doctor-patient relationship has been disturbed right now. That hasn't really gotten into this point yet, but do we really want members of our federal bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. deciding who's getting what health care and when? I don't think so. That's another reason why Obamacare has to be defeated, and if we can't do it at the Supreme Court level, we are going to need to do it at the legislative level. And the way we're going to do that, ladies and gentlemen, is have something positive to replace it. We can't simply play games anymore where we simply say what we are against. We have to say what we're for, what we're prepared to battle, to do. Our campaign has issued a 10-point plan. Is it perfect? No, but it's evolving around information given us by physicians who have worked in this community for 20 or 30 years. Free enterprise built the greatest healthcare system in the world. Free enterprise can manage it so we can all be healthier and live longer lives.
We're going to go to a commercial break to thank those sponsors that have made this happen tonight for us on the air.